You're listening to The Practice of a Hoodoo Baptist, my personal journey of root work, faith, and ancestral wisdom. This is where I honor the ones that came before me, share what's been passed down, and walk you through my experiences of being unapologetically aligned, covered by spirit, guided by blood. This episode is titled Working with Plants, Roots, and the Land. Before I ever opened a book on Hoodoo, I was already learning from the land that I grew up on, or the land that I frequented as a child. I was already learning from the spaces that I spent a lot of time on. I grew up in Alabama. I may not I may not sound like it to most people. Even though I never thought that being from Alabama, you're supposed to sound a certain way specifically, because there's different ways and styles, dialects, languages that people speak in Alabama. So yeah, I grew up in Alabama, and as a kid, I spent a lot of time outside. And even though I was born and raised in the city, for the most part, I did spend a lot of time up the country. For folks who live down south, deep, from the Delta to the Bayou to, from Texas to Georgia, most of us know what up the country means, or say that at some point. From the smell of fresh mint near my great grandmother's steps, from the way she steeped herbs without explanation, even my another great grandmother I had, she lived up the country, and I definitely remember roosters. Roosters waking us up early in the morning. Yeah, and I definitely have a memory of her kitchen, like her kitchen at her house. It had certain roots were in jars. Some things, a lot of things weren't labeled, but I'm pretty sure that they were understood. I'm blessed to say it was a beautiful blessing to grow up with great grandparents. I definitely experienced great grandparents, from one of my grandmother's mothers, and then my grandfather's mother. And I remember them vividly, even though I was a young kid, but I was blessed to have a great grandparent up until I was 15. So yeah, I'll definitely say my experience has been unique. And it's also incredibly unique because I am what some may call a two-headed person, meaning that I have African ancestry and Native American ancestry, or indigenous ancestry. And that gives me power as far as my conscience or my consciousness, and my talent, and my gifts. And I think a huge part of my gift has a lot to do with being resourceful. And my first lesson in resources was definitely centered on the earth. I was taught that the earth was always our teacher. I was taught to always respect the earth. I was taught that the land was always alive. I was taught to respect the trees. I was taught to respect flowers and plants, and that gardening was necessary and it was a way of life. So yeah, like nature was always important to me. And I think it's super important for me, with this platform to talk about how plants are not products. Plants are beings. So when I'm talking about herbs, roots, trees, flowers, plants, like all of these things, they all have spirit. And I don't look at them like there's something to be used necessarily. It's more so to look at them as beings to work with. Like you work with plants, you work with herbs, you work the roots. You don't use them. Just like with your ancestors, you don't use your ancestors. You honor your ancestors. So when we're talking about hoodoo is it's a relationship. It's about relationship. It's not about extraction. It's not about taking and plucking and grabbing and draining. It's not about that. It's about relationship. It's about community. It's about being one with something or someone else. Being one whole being by working with whatever it is that you're working with. So yeah, it's definitely something that I think a lot of folks don't understand, or it's the part that gets a little like lost, or maybe just confusing for some people. But I look at it as being something very simple. Like you respect all living things. It doesn't, beyond something being an animal, but we're talking about green life, if you will, your environment, the land that you live on, where you're from. Yeah, all of these things are super, super important. Even like with my way, like learning from the land. Like I said, I spent a lot of time outside as a kid. And yeah, I climbed trees. I sat in trees. I talked to trees. I watered, you know, planted, gardened. I did all the things, and this is quite normal to me. And it was encouraged. I'm definitely like part of that generation. I don't know necessarily if it's like the last generation, but that generation of being outside and running around and being outside for hours and so yeah, I just always felt like it was important to not separate myself from nature too much. Even like now as an adult, I like to make sure that I'm, even going out on vacation, or even when I travel, to turn off my phone, get away from my phone, leave my MacBook, leave my iPad or tablets or whatever, just leave it behind and just connect, differently. I like to, like, especially a lot of places where I travel or vacation, if I'm in the jungle or on a beach somewhere, I'm not wearing shoes as much. Yeah, it's just wanted to ground and just get back to that the essential shit. So I try my best to, well, I maintain my relationship with nature through connecting with it to some degree. But even through tending, which is why I like having a vegetable garden where I live. I like planting and gardening. I like listening. I like just going out to the ocean, going out to the beach, and being in the water and just listening. I like to connect through prayer, having certain prayers, when I'm outside. And even like offering to the Orishas, through the ocean, or even, whether I'm in cemeteries or at the beach or hiking in the mountains. Some point, just it's all about building and maintaining that connection. Yeah, it's necessary for me. I think it's just a part of, you know, keeping me back to myself, making sure that I maintain my connection with my ancestors, with God, with nature, and staying and being whole with who I am essentially. Um but yeah, like when we're talking about land though, like land is so important. I definitely commend everyone out there, especially black folks, indigenous folks. If you still have access to the land that's been passed down from your family, I commend you. I want to encourage you to hold on to that as long as you can, to keep it pushing, you know, beyond even from when after you pass, like whatever you got to do. I truly think that's important, and I do believe that it's beautiful if you still have access to land, that's been passed down in your family. Um, if you have a place to go, whether it's annually for family reunions or vacations, whatever. It's really beautiful. Like it's really cool. I have some of the best memories of being, on my great grandmother Claritha's land, at her house, and it's really cool. And I actually haven't been there in a while, and I can't wait to go. I'm actually looking forward to going because I've been thinking about it a lot more often, lately. Definitely been thinking about it a lot more. Yeah, but I do have fond memories, from the roosters to the deers to the chickens. She had a little farm, y'all. A little farm at her spot. Yeah, because she was definitely old school. Like my father has told me stories about, great grandma Claritha like grabbing a chicken and yeah. The chicken was a goner, okay? Because that was how the meals were prepped, okay? Like that was about to be a meal. Real chicken, okay? Not that homegrown pumped hormone shit that they be selling us at the grocery store now, even though I actually for real stopped eating chicken. It's never truly been my jam, but yeah, just like, growing her own food, harvesting her own, materials, and yeah, and that just being the norm, a lot more work, a lot more effort, but I mean, it's a lot of folks that's like really struggling or pushing to get back to that because, they want to grow their own food. They want to monitor what they're actually putting in their bodies, and I ain't mad at you. That's how we got to do it. Seriously. Yeah, I do have some personal like plant allies, I guess I could call them. And yeah, maybe, they can help some of you. So like, well, first of all, I just started back. I really, from living in the city now, um, yeah, from living in the city now, I decided with one of my neighbors to go ahead and actually start growing some fruits and vegetables. So we got a garden box. It's I wish I knew the exact measurements of it, but it's pretty huge. Like it takes up like half of the little corner of the deck upstairs on the roof. But yeah, I guess it's about 10 feet for sure. Um 10 feet long, and like as far as the depth, I would say the depth is probably like about no, maybe like 3.5 feet deep. It's pretty big. It's a nice size. But anywho, we got it at the top of the pandemic and started growing. And we just planted random things, child, because we really didn't know what we were doing. We just wanted to do something. And we weren't really trying to, be in the grocery store. But yeah, like from celery to kale, basil, mint, peppers, tomatoes, strawberries. Yeah, like we just was planting any and everything. But it was trial and error. Like, you always like figure it out, because we were taking advice from some farmers we found online on Instagram, and looking at a little YouTube. And then me, like, I was kind of more concerned with growing like certain herbs. So it was like I really wanted to, just get some of the basics. So it's like basil and mint, and yeah, lavender, um lemongrass. Like, yeah, it was just certain things that I did plant. I was just like, no, I just really just kind of want these things for now. But y'all, like within like maybe 4 months, 3 4 months, like the garden was, it was flourishing. And that was really all I needed, like that validation from nature that I needed. Like, okay, you're doing this. Um, and it was also really cool too, because my neighbor at the time, we had like low key developed this relationship with some folks over at a farmer's market. So it's like, because we wanted everything to be organic, and just obviously to get some tips on what we were doing, and some of the, and also the landscaper of our building, he was down to support as well. So it's like, even if we kind of like fell off a little bit, like with watering, or just kind of cleaning it up and pulling out some weeds or certain things, and he also helped us, like, with little tricks and tips to keep the bugs out, and what bugs were, what are good bugs and bad ones, and getting a little net, so birds wasn't flying over to eat everything. And then I requested a fig tree from my management, and they actually like went ahead and approved for me to have a fig tree, and planted the fig tree. And I just had to maintain it for the most part. But the landscapers, like, supported that. So yeah, like I really, really did enjoy that. And, and that felt really good to keep it going. Um, because during the pandemic, we didn't know what was about to happen. So, just wanted to do something, and wanted to feed ourselves just in case, we just didn't know. So that was quite beautiful. And that was something that I couldn't wait to tell my grandmother, one of my grandmothers, who is major. She is major in the game of gardening, okay, in the family. So I was like, I got your green thumb. And she was like, what? Let me see. Send me a picture. So yeah, she was proud of me. She's very proud of me. And I tell all the time, like, my fig tree's growing. Like, yeah, it's which yeah, I'm actually about to harvest some figs in like a couple of weeks, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, something that, basil, lavender, lemongrass, like, yeah, whatever I grew, unless it was like food, I was harvesting my celery, making celery juice, my strawberries, the kale, like, no, we was Yeah, baby, we was not playing no games. Like everything, and that was cool too to actually like feed some of the neighbors with what we were growing, and yeah, I'm proud. I wanna do that again. I low key wanna like get another box, and just wherever I move, I just want to be able to grow, plant and grow. Yeah, so everything that I grew, whatever it is that I grew, I kept it with, I harvested or I kept it with me and I carried it with me regularly. And, some things I put in my mojo bag, some things I just made and had for myself, to make like oils out of and, you know, just use it for cleaning, for having my place smell good, and yeah, it was just it's cool. Like I think all of that is it's great, and it's again, accomplishment, validation, and honestly, it's all part of root working to me. And I've always been naturally, I guess you could say, I've always been naturally drawn to making my own like concoctions and, um, yeah, planting, getting in dirt, being outside. It's just, like I need it. I need to put my hands in things. It's, it's just in me. It actually doesn't feel right if I don't have my feet in the ground or on sand or in the ocean, or have my hands in some dirt. I need it. Like it doesn't feel right if I go too long without it. So yeah, I gotta have it. I think it's just a part of me in a way that I can't even explain all the time, for real, for real. And I think that also comes from me having, it's part of my lineage, like me having um my family roots, and that being something that my folks just did. It's just this normal thing, and I'm happy that I still have it, and I'm practicing, and it's a part of my root work, and I'm loud with it. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want it to be lost. I don't want to just forget. I don't want to just remove myself from it. Like it's yeah, and I fight so hard to keep it in my body, to keep doing it. It's so much pressure to just eat anything. They're just calling anything food. It's so much pressure for you to, be distracted from not growing your own food and being in your garden and being outside and one with nature. It's just, it's so much. Like so yeah, I have to do it to honor the land where I'm from. I do it to honor my ancestors, the land of my ancestors. My folks are from Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia, and yeah, like my family is all throughout the South, Oklahoma, even. Like my shit runs deep in the South. And I think, wherever your folks are from, you should, consider doing the same thing. Think about doing the same thing. Like, and and just tap into your memory. Try to tap into that ancestral memory. And I think that's what happens when you're doing things that your ancestors used to do, and you're enjoying it, and you're just naturally drawn to it. I think that's where that memory, things just tap in for you, because maybe the memory is in the soil. Maybe the memory is in like the act of you like mixing and grinding and blending, and whatever it is that you're doing at home, making your own shea butters, making your own oils for your hair, for your skin, making your own soaps, and, growing your herbs, and just all these different things. Like it's in you, right? It gotta be. Maybe we just have to stop fighting it so much, because I think a lot of times we're fighting these things, but it's like, why? It's powerful. Think about it, like the power of growing something. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can have it, whether even if it's temporary, you can have it, in your window if it's a plant, pot, or putting some things in a jar. Like it's all powerful, right? The it's the work, it's root work, and it's not just a metaphor, it's literal. Okay, seriously, don't be afraid to start your root work. Like, don't be afraid to start small. Don't be afraid to make mistakes either. Like, it's it's not that deep. Just start learning. Just start educating yourself. Like, if you don't know the names, you don't need to know like the Latin names of every single fucking thing. Like, if you don't know the names or rituals, you know, um, it's okay. They know you though, so they're gonna find your ass. Just tap in. Maybe we just have to be listening. We just have to be silent. We just have to try certain things and, see, listen to how, to our body. How do we naturally like react to these things? How does our body like respond? Like, pay attention in that way. Okay. And talk to the plants, yo. Like, why are we not talking to seashells anymore? We're not talking to trees, hugging trees. I am a tree hugger down. Do you hear me? Literally have protested people from, trying to keep folks from cutting trees. Like, oh my God. Yeah, it's it's real. It's that real for me. But yeah, like, build these relationships. Like, we got to get back outside, yo. I'm not saying outside like at the day party outside. That's cute too. But no, I'm talking about like really tapping in with nature, with real fruits and vegetables, real food, the plants, you know. That is your medicine. That's thy medicine. And it's not about controlling nature or manipulating nature, harming nature. You're collaborating with it when you're working the roots, when you got your herbs, when you got your um different plants and fruits and vegetables that you're growing and sharing with your people. Like, it's all a collaboration. Just educate yourself. I'm still learning. Still, I'm a forever learner. Like, I'm a student until I die. And even in my afterlife, I'ma still be in the front of the classroom, ready to learn. There's just so much to learn about the hoodoo tradition in different ways. Like, my maternal side, um, maternal lineage, hoodoos on that side, from Alabama, majority Alabama Creole. So that may have some similarities, and it also may have some differences from someone that grew up in Louisiana in the bayou somewhere, or another hoodoo family in the Mississippi Delta, or Gullah Geechee family in South Carolina or North Carolina. Like, it's we all have, this thread in common with the tradition. However, we all have our different like styles and ways of how we do these things, and I think that's so beautiful. So it's just all about educating yourself, tapping in, learning, writing, praying, communicating, asking for permission from the herbs and the plants, telling them thank you, keeping your relationship with them, building that relationship. Because I know for me personally, when I have moments where I am working with roots, herbs for the sake of healing and to not become sick or to heal a sickness, whether it's from myself or someone else, I say a lot of prayers. As I'm brewing, I say a lot of prayers, like even as I'm touching the herbs and I have them in my hand, if I'm brushing them in my hand, or if I'm holding it in my hand, I'm saying prayers. And that, to me, that is all a part of working the roots, and it's also a part of the tradition and it's spirituality. I'm honoring the power of this plant, and I'm praying over it before I ingest it, or give it to someone else. Like, it's all of that is necessary. That's what I do. And like I said, I'm still learning. I can't put y'all onto a book really quick though, because I'm a fan of reading and I'm always reading. This is one of my favorite books, actually. Okay. Working the Roots by Michelle E. Lee. Over 400 years of traditional African American healing. This is the truth. Let's put a prayer out there that I can have this queen, the author, Michelle E. Lee, that I can actually have her on the podcast, because I want to talk about this. Because, baby, low key, this is like a hoodoo Bible / like encyclopedia. This is, it really is, it's storytelling, it's research, it's ancestral veneration. It's just a beautiful dedication to the tradition of multiple people from different cultures. I truly can't wait to speak to this woman and meet her. I really want her on the podcast, so let's pray that happens. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna reach out because I have a lot that I want to thank her for and to talk to her about. I have questions. It's necessary. Oh, I also can share. This is my root work. It's my root work journal. This is a journal essentially of prayers, of remedies, recipes, and more. Personally, mine. I've had this one for about 5 years. And yeah, I make sure I keep writing any and everything from different rituals, different prayers, remedies, liquids, herbs, recipes, just, man. And I do this because I want to keep a record of everything that I do or everything that I have done. And any traditions, any remedies or recipes that I'm given from aunties to grandmothers to mediums and priests. Yeah, I write everything down. Any talks that I have, especially as far as prayers, like. Yeah, I write everything down, and this is something that I want to eventually pass down to someone else and be able to carry on my family tradition. Carry on so, the family recipes and remedies don't die out, and that's also why I created this podcast too, because, oral tradition and storytelling is a huge tool within the tradition as well. So it's important to me to keep it going, to keep it alive. And it should be important for you too. Okay? Venerate your folks. Don't be afraid to start small. It's okay if you don't know the names. It's okay if you just starting out. It's okay if you're now listening, you're now paying attention, and you now are getting the signs and you have that feeling to start. That's all that matters. Like, you here. It's all good. And remember, you're not doing this to control nature. You're collaborating with it. Okay? You've been listening to The Practice of a Hoodoo Baptist. This is my altar, my process, my truth, where I honor those who came before me and speak what was once kept silent. Covered by spirit, guided by blood. Until next time, peace.